Let's bring in Director at Wise Collective Advocate Brenda Madumise-Pajibo to expand on the conversation here. A very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. I mean, just listening into some of the conversations that have come out of day one of this conference, what are your observations? What do you make of it?
I think this president always says the right things, and and he presses the right buttons. And unfortunately, saying what he's saying and what we experience on the ground, two different things. And he's speaking to a conference of women judges and legal practitioners who assist with the responsibility of applying the law. And most times, they are, by the time the matter comes before a court, something should have been done first, meaning there should have been a proper and thorough investigation. He's saying the right things, but, the trust deficit that we have as citizens of this country vis-a-vis the criminal justice system, and just not trusting that this system can deliver when it's supposed to deliver, it's there, and it is going to take all of them to ensure that they build that trust and we can gain that trust so that we can safely feel safe that once a matter is before a court, that justice will prevail.
We heard Chief Justice Mandisa Maya today speaking about the failure to identify the perpetrator in the rape of a 7-year-old Eastern Cape girl, saying it exposes the weaknesses in the country's judicial system. Where are the challenges as we look to some of these weaknesses and the letdowns that have really exacerbated the problem and made this problem bigger for us to grasp? So
the challenges are systemic and systematic. I mean, we can't run away from that, right? Mm-hmm. And the second thing is that if you have not equipped your police force with the latest technology and you don't give them the necessary tools to be able to investigate a matter thoroughly, you are then going to have situations like we have it now. Mm. Why is it difficult for the South African Police Service to identify a perpetrator in this case? They need to tell us, right? Because if you don't know, and I mean, we have spoken about this at ad nauseum on the caliber and the capacity of the South African Police Service to investigate, complex rape cases, right? Here is a case happening at a school. Surely, as the police, that's where you start to investigate and ask the questions around everybody else who was at the school at that particular time, before you even talk to the child, because it's a 7-year-old. And a 7-year-old, you're not going to interview like you interview an adult, right? You have to have the necessary tools to know how to interview a 7-year-old child. So there's a lot that we expect from the SAPS, and we have to be honest with ourselves that they don't have the capacity and the capability to investigate some of these cases because they are complex in their nature. And if they're not given the tools that are necessary for them to execute, we're going to struggle and keep on rising and being outraged and protesting because we are let down on basic things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all of this happens as a policing summit is currently underway. We're on day 2 of that policing summit, hoping that some answers will come to some of the questions that you're posing there. We heard President Ramaphosa, as he also gave this address, saying that the onus is not just on women to address the scourge of gender-based violence, saying that men must be a part of this too, to fight the scourge. How do we dismantle these contributing factors, the complex societal, cultural, and structural aspects?
So when we say that any form of gender violence is not a women's issue, we really mean that, because it takes society to be able to combat and act against such, right? And unfortunately, because of how we have been socialized and because of how patriarchy manifests and shows up at any given time, you have these situations that we have. Mm-hmm. The National Strategic Plan on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide has identified what the structural drivers of gender violence in this country. We have And we know what are those drivers. So patriarchy is one of them, right? Culture and culture, norms and practices that we have been we are used to over time, is part of them. Alcohol is a driver of gendered violence. Substance abuse is a driver of gendered violence. So we know what are drivers. We have put together an intervention and a roadmap and a pathway on how to address gendered violence. What we have not done, and what this government has not done, including the president, are not talking about, is what effort are we putting in our prevention, intervention, and strategy. If we can do that alongside everything else, I think we can go a long way, because the point that you are raising, or the question that you are raising around bringing everyone on board, including men, it's about the prevention strategy and intervention that you must put in place. And we have not put in the adequate resources to do so.
Very well. Thank you so much for weighing in on this discussion. Leaving it there with Director at Wise Collective, Advocate Brenda Madumise-Pajibo.